Good afternoon. We'll work on the volume. So appreciate the fact that you all are here. This event's important to us as an opportunity to engage with our partners and our customers. And with it, we've had a lot of things that we've already done here in this first 2 days. We had a lot of user groups and other things the first day. And then we started with the opening session. And the nice part is a lot of the things that were shared there are things that I'm going to touch on also. So we can move through this quickly and I can get through all 120, no, it's not 120 slides. But what we want to do is, with Kendra, Scott, Theo, and all, we gave a kind of a vision as to where we are within the suite and walk through one of the key scenarios within there. So as we talk through the roadmap, a lot of what they showed, this was one of those sessions in which everything that they showed is actually in the product now. So that was kind of nice, gives a good baseline on there. As I go through this roadmap session, I'll try to focus in on a little bit more of where we're at, kind of set the baseline, which is the 9.1 release. And then within there, I'll do kind of a mix of kind of doing forward-looking as I'm going through some of the different slides, and then I'll kind of wrap up each section with that. I usually like the sessions to be interactive. That's a little bit harder with the room and all. So if you have a really burning question, find a way to come up here and just ask. That'll probably slow down the number of questions. But the other thing is, just as we stated in some of the user groups and advisory boards, our objective here from the IBM side is to be here to support the customers and the partners. So if there's something that I don't address here, come find us. We are here to give you a vision of what we've done, as well as a vision of where we're going. And so with that, if you don't ask the question here, never fear, you'll have a chance to ask us at some point. All right, I'm going to do a bit of forward-looking, so we, of course, have the disclaimer slide. So Kendra touched on this, that we are 40 years into Maximo. And with that, there have been a number of iterations of that and evolutions as we've gone along. But with that, very mature, a lot of key processes within there that are fundamental on the asset management side and asset lifecycle management. And with that, I think we've got a tremendous foundation that we have in place. But with that, we'll try to give a little bit of a summary of that as well as more of where we're going. But as we look at where we are, 2025 was a very significant year. It was significant for a number of different things. So the 9.1 release was the 14th release of Maximo Application Suite. So we've been working on this thing for 5 years now. Well established, everything's very solid within it. You'll find a thing or two that you want to get to us on and all, but everything, we've got the foundation that we need, and we've now in the 9.1 release, we really started to extend that. And so we'll talk about some things as to where we are with field workforce management, or FSM, field service management. We'll talk about some of the innovation that we've done around asset investment planning, and Scott, Kendra, and all touched on some of that. We'll go a little bit deeper into that. So the 9.1 release was a very big release for us, not only in the amount of content that was in it, but also with where we were. Kendra's always asked that we try to complete something, okay? So with that, by completing things and all, I try to remind her we'll never complete anything because you all have more ideas that we need to be dealing with. But with that, I think we reached some key milestones, and we'll touch on some of those as we go along. So the 9.1 release was a good release overall, one that I was certainly quite happy with myself. The other big thing that we did is we integrated TRIRIGA into Maximo. And our focus on real estate and facilities is something that we showed the 25-year heritage of TRIRIGA. So we've got well-established software. And what we wanted to do was bring it together onto a common base. And with that, that was finally accomplished. Kendra put out the term TriMax. I think it was 13 years ago. We looked first at bringing TRIRIGA together with Maximo. And we kind of started looking at that time and we said, well, let's just marry them all the way down at the database and schema level and all. And as we looked at that, it was something that then got replaced by something else that was going on, and we never got to it. We looked at it again probably 7 years ago and, had some of the same thoughts and all. And then finally this last year in June, we actually completed it. And so we have a common base, and kind of the objective around MAS is to have that common base so that you can then incrementally expand your system as you go along. So now we've brought the real estate and facilities group into that same type of mindset. Whether you're starting from a base of real estate and facilities where you've been using TRIRIGA and using that as your entry point to come onto the suite, or if you've come in already and maybe you're doing your operations and maintenance through Manage and in the suite and all, but you want to extend to leases and all, our objective is to make it very easy for you to identify capabilities that are important to you. And with that, by integrating TRIRIGA into MAS, it gives us the ability to put this in front of you so that you can incrementally add that in. I think the thing that is probably most significant of all of those, though, is generative AI. It'll be the last section that I talk about within the roadmap, but to look at what is potentially in front of us through generative AI, it is going to be very fundamental in what it brings to all of you in the end. It focuses on the roles that matter within Maximo. It focuses on the processes that are fundamental to your operations. And really, it's there to give more effectiveness and more efficiency in the work that you need to accomplish. So if I look at 2025, very significant year. These three things were large, and with it, we'll reflect it as we go forward. So as we have shown in many of these types of roadmap sessions, there is something that's guided us. And this chart could very well have been created 40 years ago. I don't think it was. I think it came more about 20 years ago and all. But it's really kind of the maturity of maintenance practices. And if we look at what has been driving us, we've started with the EAM side. And there were a set of maintenance practices that you can accomplish with a base EAM system. Then the first thing that we focused on within the suite is being able to bring asset performance management in front of our customer set. And so with that, the things that we did to include health, monitor and predict, bringing in your operational data, being able to assess the condition, it allowed us to be able to support an additional set of maintenance approaches. Then as we started to add AIP, maintenance cost insights and all, it's really been focused around getting to that next level, which is financially optimized maintenance. So if we step way back and all, our objective within the suite is to allow you to look at all the assets that you have in your organization, and by using software within the suite, be able to identify what maintenance approach is applicable to each of the different asset classes and allow you to implement that combination. And more than anything, this is going to continue to drive us as we go forward the next 5 or 10 years also. So what is the difference? We started this slide about a couple years ago, as we had a lot of the customers that were using Maximo EAM. And the question they were asking is, well, okay, you brought this MAS thing out. What am I getting out of it? Why should I consider it? So we started to put together and look kind of at what is the incremental capabilities just off of Manage, okay? So we started looking at it just off of Manage, which is the equivalent of EAM in the MAS world. And we looked at the investment and the capabilities that were coming into that, both from a by-release perspective as well as by an incremental level. And so with it, whether it be enhancements, usability improvements, new functionality, we've had now 14 releases of it across the 5 years. And with it, the objective is to, for those of you that are still evaluating, getting justification for that, give kind of a perspective as to how different it is. and for the rest of you to have an idea that this thing has evolved quite a bit, and what I'm showing you is kind of a culmination of that. Now, as we look at those years, the big things that we had in here, significant extensions on Manage, our core EAM, the introduction of a fully, very competitive field service management solution. We've got the introduction of asset performance management. We also are using things like visual inspections are now a part of the suite. And then we've also expanded a lot with our SaaS offerings, trying to deal with that entry in to the suite, as well as for those customers that are looking to not expend their resources maintaining the core software, but instead focus on what functionality they're getting out of it. So SaaS is important as we've gone forward. And then a lot of these introductions that I'm going to talk about later are all part of what that investment has brought us. Now, we do this for a reason, okay? You all implement the software for a reason. Whether those are things about extending the lifespan of your assets, reducing maintenance and operation costs, managing the risk associated with your assets, the availability, the sustainability of them, or workforce productivity. Kendra showed this slide also. It's one that we use a fair amount because it brings it back to why are you implementing the software? Why are we creating the software? And it's really to try to